Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. Let's get to it. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Jay Sapovits. Jay, thank you so much for being here today.
Aaron, nice to see you. We have dueling neon.
That's it, dueling neon. And I'm going to do my best to remain cordial, even though I'm speaking to someone in Foxborough, Massachusetts. I'm just going to let that roll, and we're just going to keep going. We're not going to, if you guys can find Jay and figure out where he is, we're not going to discuss it any further. And that's it. Maybe this is our year. I don't know, but it is what it is for the Jets. Jay, your journey is a serial one. Everyone should read your bio. Everyone should look at it. Constantly, the bio says it, constantly reinventing.
Yeah. Serial or manic?
You could say it. I can't. How? Why? What happened? Take us to the beginning. I want to get through the evolution, but like there is a certain trait or a certain moment where it's like, I'm not the 30 years at an accounting firm guy.
I mean, that part started easy, right? So my pop was a school teacher. I watched him hate his job every second of his life. He would come home counting the days, starting at 180 of how many school days and work days he had left. And I just swore to myself that I would never be in a position where I hated what I did because it was so much, so part of my identity. And anytime I've gotten to a spot where I became obsessed, and obsession and addiction is part of my life and story, with not being happy in where I wanted, to be, I created either left and went to something else or created a new reality for myself from scratch.
I want to touch on both of those points because those are two great points. One is I think that people all too often are scared to leave, are scared to take that leap. And obviously I don't think that I'm not suggesting that someone should do something irresponsible. Like they don't have a plan and therefore they won't be able to pay rent or buy food. And therefore they should just say, I go to work one day, I'm not happy with this result with my boss, I quit and have no plan. But what is it that has allowed you to take those leaps and not be scared of what if I should have stayed?
Well, I mean, I was scared to stay. Forget scared to leave. I was scared to stay. There used to be safety in staying in a career. I don't think that safety exists. And, for me, I never knew entrepreneurialism existed. So when I talk about, I knew I wouldn't stay at a job unhappy, I thought I was going to work for other people. So I didn't have that concept of like, I'll just go start it myself. No, what happened for me was I was in the radio industry and I needed to make a change. And I got into a recovery job when I started that change. And this is 28 years ago. And when I got into that job, I just saw a gap in a market and came up with a plan to fill that gap in the market. And a business owner at the time said yes and funded that. And then I saw another gap and I came up with another plan. So I just kept seeing gaps and came up with plans that other people said yes to. And then eventually I had the courage to just say, all right, I'm going to go do this on my own because I know I can make, if you're making $100,000 a year and you have a solution to a problem, I mean, the question is, can you make 50, right? Because if you can make 50 on your own and you're making it's not zero. If it's zero, then you just have a dumb idea and nobody else has the problem. But if somebody else has the problem, it's just you have the courage to go ask enough people if you can help them and fix that problem that they have. So this isn't something to be overthought. This is a problem. Being an entrepreneur is literally problem, solution, and courage. Like problem, solution, courage to ask somebody if you can fix it on their behalf and then charge them a fair and equitable price for it. It's probably going to be low to start and over time it raises. So, it was all new to me and I just took action. So I see, the resources out there now, and I see guys 22 years old and, this is my side hustle. Like, I don't know anything about side hustles.
And I think that one very important thing that you spoke about, which is really the foundation of Keep Hustling, is courage. And that courage to say, I've thought about, I'm not just, as you said, I'm not making a stupid decision because no one has a problem and I just think that I should invent something or I want to, just live on a beach somewhere with no plan. But it's, I want to be happy. This is where I think my happiness is. This is where I think, by the way, and I think that when a person acts courageously and with that courage, the happiness comes because they're chasing for themselves.
Yeah.
And yet so often people squash it and therefore they're not happy when they could have been happier, and they're miserable on all ends when it's like, and by the way, I think you make more money when you're passionate about what you're doing and when you're happy with what you're doing. That doesn't mean every single day, when you have that challenging proposal or that client leaves you, that you say like, this is the greatest thing ever and life is, and it's not hard. But I just think it makes it easier to do the hard things which lead to success when you are passionate about it, or when you do feel that happiness, when you do make that sale or reach that next milestone or fill that gap.
I sell t-shirts and swag and merch for a living. That's what I do. That's what my company does. Okay. I promise you, nobody was waiting for me to get into the business. It was a $27 billion business, maybe 24 billion when I started this company 10 years ago. Okay. 24 billion. It isn't the idea. It's your concept of the idea and what you can do for people who are your clients. And we're big. So we've created a relatively big business, right? We're definitely in the 1%. And we've done that by adding our culture, right? We don't have an easy shopping experience online to compete with 4imprint, right? We're not massive and tech driven like Sendoso, right? So we've got tons of people out there that do what we do, but we do it just a little bit different for the people who get our vision and want to do business with us for a very specific reason, right? So it's not the idea. It literally is not the idea. The idea is a very small piece of it. It needs to, it needs to be something people spend money on. Like, I tell people that I'm in the pizza business, right? In my hometown, I live in Mansfield, Massachusetts. My office is in Foxborough. Pick either one. If I circled a 3-mile radius from where I live or where I work, there'd be 20 pizza shops. 20 pizza shops. Since I've been here, 23 years, none of them have gone out of business. Now, I only like 3 of them, but somebody else likes 3 others, right? And one is the 20th gross revenue business, and one is 1. And that goes all the way from Domino's to the local pizza shop. It ain't the idea. It's the execution inside of the idea in a market that has enough scale, right? And then taking action against, right? Solution problem, taking action against it.
But why do you think that people don't do it?
Fear. Straight fear. Yeah, I'm not going to
So
be
how
able
do you
to.
combat that?
I'm not going to be able to pay my bills.
So how do you combat that? The guy who has the idea, who's sitting behind the desk,
Yeah.
and he's miserable.
Yeah.
But he says, like, I want to be Jay. I want to do it. I love it. I can't wait. I want to open a pizza shop. I love pizza. I want to open pizza. There's enough of a market. Yes, there's 19 others, but there's enough of a market, and mine's going to be niche in this, and I'm going to chase it. I love it. But no, it's not for me.
Desperation is the answer. How do you do it? Desperation, right? Like
But what if people don't want to be desperate? What I'm saying to you is, like, people don't have the courage to act on desperation.
Okay. Then they don't do it. I mean, look, the only way I know how to do it is to feel a certain desperation that my life is on the line, my financial life is on the line, my reputation is on the line, my ego, which I try to live in a suppressed ego form, but my ego is on the line. The only way I know how to do it is that way. I don't know any other way. So you're asking me, how do you do it? And I'm telling you, like, if you don't feel like your life is on the line in multiple facets, you're not going to make the extra calls, put in the extra hours. Like, it's hard. It's not easy. Like, I'm not saying being an entrepreneur or getting something going from zero is easy. It's hard. You know what? If it was easy, everybody could do it. We've heard that before 1 billion times. And it's true. Like, the pain that comes with owning your own shop or being the CEO is not unreal. It's real. Like, there is pain. But so is working for somebody else and having them, like, go watch Office Space 1 million times. You know why people love the movie? Because it resonates. Yes. Right? Of course. TPS reports is a real thing. It's not because it's a real thing, but because it is. Everybody's had some bullshit thing that they've needed, to do for their boss that they've known I worked for a guy that used to ask me to put together monthly reports. And after the third one, I knew he never read the monthly reports. And my colleagues would say to me, he never reads these, right? I said, it's not about him. It's about me getting a greater understanding of the business and what I actually accomplished this month. So I did it for me. So there was some value out of it. But when that erodes your emotional state of mind to the point where you fear Sundays and you watch the clock to leave, like you got to go and you got to behave desperately.
How do you then handle failure when you've put it all on the line?
I mean, I done it. I failed. I failed publicly. It was a tremendous blow for me. I had a buddy call me after I had closed a business. A month later, he asked me to help him run a golf course. I ran a golf course, and I spent 9 months licking my wounds and feeling sorry for myself. And obviously, that didn't work. But then I got a break where I had known some people from a previous industry I was in, and they hired me to be a consultant, and I did meaningful work in that regard. And it gave me the confidence to kind of jump back in and rebuild and redo it again. So the answer to all these questions, Aaron, is always the same. And I know it's really uncomfortable because you want there to be, I'm not saying you, but people want there to be a magic bullet. But the only answer is the same, and it's always take action, do something. Whatever that next right thing is to promote your hustle or to promote your growth is what you have to do. And it doesn't mean you're going to like it. It doesn't mean you're going to be happy about it. I mean, when I closed my business, that's the lowest feeling as I ever thought I could have in life, right? It's like I had nothing but success for 10 years. And then in 3, it was all gone, like zero, like all gone. And I was embarrassed. I was lonely. I was scared. I was frightened. But I also had 3, 6, and 8-year-old and a wife and 2 mortgages that weren't yet all paid. And my only choice was to find a stream of revenue or, what? And I did that. And it was lower than I needed. So we, operated at a little bit of a loss for a minute, but, hustled and quickly got that back up to where it needed to be. And, that's the job.
There's a great quote that I've mentioned before on the podcast, which is imperfect action is far better than perfect inaction. And I think that so many people are fearful. The number one fear is failing. And one of the things that I'm not as seasoned as many people in the business, and certainly you have far more life experience than I do. That wasn't an age comment, but you mentioned Foxborough, so therefore I have to take a stab at you.
I'm not young.
We said we're not going to do it. That is that everybody has failed. Even the greatest business owners are like, Apple was gone. Apple was gone. It wasn't a company. Everyone thought it was a joke.
Yeah, got bailed out by Pixar.
It wasn't a thing. Nobody was going to have an iPhone. Microsoft was the only player. And the same thing with Amazon. You can look at the graveyard of failed investments or things. But yet I feel like the people who are the most successful are those that keep hustling. That's what I'm doing. Well, it's the people who say, you're right. I'm gonna lick my wounds. It's fine. You can have some time, but I got to do it again. There's no room for inaction.
But let me stop you for a second, because you made a comment there that speaks to me at a fundamental level that is a pitfall entrepreneurs in the beginning fall into, and I did it for a long time. Okay, Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg, and I could rattle off 100 other guys, are unicorns. Okay, they are make-believe. 1 in a billion, maybe more. Drive down Main Street, okay? See the person who owns the yoga studio. Calculate, I don't know if you do this, I do it. I know a lot of people I know do it, entrepreneurs. Think about what their daily revenues are. Look at the coffee shop that just opened on your Main Street and think about what their
or the one that's been there for 20 years.
Or the one that's been there for 20 years. And do the revenue in your head of what 98% of businesses, 98 don't make $1 million, don't make $1 million in revenue a year. That means only 2% make $1 million. That might not be 97, I think, but 3% make a million in revenue a year. So the comparison to Steve Jobs is such a negative one that it quelches enthusiasm, because you think, oh, well, if I don't build something that changes the world, it's like, no, you don't need to build something that changes the world. You need to build something that changes your world.
I am an insurance agent by trade.
Yes.
My father, he should let me start our business. And my closest friend in the industry became an insurance agent because he was working with his father in the summer. I think I'm going to start right at his father, I think, was an electrician. They were in someone's attic and he was sweating. And every single day he was helping his father with his job. The guy was going to play golf, the homeowner. And he finally said to his father, like, what does that guy do? Like, I don't want to, what does that guy do? He says, he's an insurance agent. And he's like, an insurance agent? That seems so stupid. Nobody wants to be an insurance agent. Who wants to be an insurance agent? And then he's like, but, it's not sexy, but that job, that guy's playing golf. That's where I want to be. That guy's got this house that I'm working in. So it's all of those kind of businesses that I think if you have the right passion, but also you're right. It is only 2% of companies may make $1 million in revenue, but, and I would love for you to correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many businesses that if you get into them and you do it right and you're passionate about, you could be in the 2%.
Oh, for sure.
It's not impossible. 2% seems like it's a hard thing to get to. It is not. It is easier than the average person thinks to get to the 2%.
Yes, but you have to start the right business. Like, you're probably not going to get, you're not going to get there if you start a juice store in a small town. Right? Now, having said that, you may, because you might come up with distribution strategies, or your juice might taste better and you might sell online, or you might franchise, or you might have multiple shops, or so there's always a way. It comes down to your drive. But I think that the desire to be a world changer and compare yourself, the comparison to the megastars of business, is a very negative one. And I think once
I never thought of that. I love that angle.
You have to drop that and just be like to your point, right? Like, I want to be my local insurance agent that's able to go play golf whenever he wants during the week. I mean, to me, that's a better aspiration than being Steve Jobs now that I'm at this stage of my life. But it's just fear and fear and I think idea, right? I think people genuinely get caught up on the idea, and they think like, well, if I don't have a killer idea, right? Like, if I don't have something that is transformative, that I can't. And the reality is, for me, 99% of business success is all about execution, not idea. So if you could just do something that's already being done, but do it better than somebody else does it, and be more active relative to sales process, you could be successful.
Someone once told me that the most important thing when you're starting a business is to have somewhat of an idea of somewhat of a plan.
Yeah, that's. I think that's fair.
And just do it. Meaning the person who waits until they have the perfect moment, the perfect location, the perfect staff, the perfect website will never get started. And if you don't get started, you definitely can't be successful.
I'm following a guy on X right now that has started a line painting company, and he does it as a side hustle.
I love those businesses. I love those people. I'm so jealous of those people.
I could never start that business. I wouldn't know where to begin, but lines have been painted on pavement forever. And this guy is just getting started in his business. And, go, just, go. And, he's had some wins, he's had some losses, but it's just so great to see. I love that entrepreneur that takes action. It's just my favorite thing I love the beginning of the journey. It's where I'm great at, right? 0 to 1. I've always been a 0 to 1 guy. Ink's challenge for me has been going from 1 to 2, which we have, and now 2 to 3, which who knows. But that 0 to 1 phase is like reminds me of like the early dating phase. It's just so exciting.
And by the way, sometimes if that first idea fails through that, like if the line painting doesn't work out for the guy, he might figure out that street signs is the answer.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that.
But just like being out, I think that people just being out there, having the experiences, hearing people's problems. Maybe he'll be painting a line for him on a block and realize that there's no good landscaper in the area, and he'll become the top landscaper and figure out how to make that more efficient. Things like that. I don't like when people say that entrepreneurship is not for everyone. I don't think everyone can make it their primary career, but I think that everyone deserves to chase their passion.
Yeah,
at least one.
Well, look,
like not everyone needs to climb Everest, But everyone should chase that because everyone deserves to make a living in something that they're passionate about and happy about. And why not give it a go at some point?
Yeah.
What do you think is the most overrated skill that people think you have to be successful in entrepreneurship? Underrated, go. Courage, drive. I got that. And and everyone underrates the fact that you just got to do that. But what do you think is like the most overrated thing that people think you need that you don't really need?
This is going to sound harsh coming from me because, it's about me, but I'm not really, I'm not really like, I didn't go to Harvard. I went to UNLV. UNLV is kind of an idiot school. And it not only is it an idiot school, but I never went to class. So on top of it not being great from a school standpoint, it's also, I never went to class, right? So I never really got, I wouldn't say a formal education is the wrong word, but I mean, I got a college degree, but you don't need a college degree. So I guess the answer to being overrated is formal education, a college degree, or any sort of formal training in business, right? I think you can wing all that and learn that on the fly. I mean, by the way, I think I'm smart, so I don't say smarts.
And by the way, I think that what's amazing about this podcast, we're 100 episodes in, and what I've learned is that most successful entrepreneurs and business owners are very smart. Many of them did not succeed in school, and what that means is that brain power, that IQ, was waiting to be unleashed,
Mhm.
and the classroom wasn't the rocket fuel to unleash it. But they're very smart people. Just school wasn't for them. And I think that one of the things that, and I'm staying away from politics here, but one of the things we should be doing is thinking about how when the kid gets to the middle of middle school
Mhm.
and they're just failing and they're miserable and they're acting out and they're misbehaving in class and their parents are miserable, the teachers are miserable and they're miserable, like maybe we should get back to the trades. Maybe we should do something. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be a path where sitting in a classroom for the next 10 years after that, that just gets bitter. That just, by the way, that creates lazy, bitter people, in my opinion. Not to go off on a tangent, but and then those people are not ultimately as successful in society as they could be. So that's my rant
Yeah,
on
look, I
education.
mean, look. So you asked the question, and I think education is the answer.
What is the most surprising thing that's happened to you in your entrepreneurial journey?
Huh. I mean, it's interesting because we talked about failing earlier and how I perceived my failure. When I speak with people from my life back then and now, they don't perceive my failure as a failure. They remember it completely different than me. And that has always taken me by a surprise. And I've also not worked negatively towards myself to remind them of the fact that it wasn't successful. So, how people perceive you and how I perceive me are very surprising. And yeah,
But what's interesting about that also is that if you perceived yourself the way they did, you wouldn't have been as driven and back against the wall to be successful. I mean, if you didn't feel it was a failure, you wouldn't have hit the ground as hard when you got back up to be successful again. It might have created complacency.
that's probably true. I don't think I was in a life position, and financially, I certainly wasn't, to have complacency. So I truly was back up against the wall and make or break for me at that time. So I had an urgency that was real and not contrived or made up. This wasn't locker room speech time. This was you're on the ice time, and like you're about to go head first into the boards or skate down the middle of the ice. And fortunately, I found some runway to get down the middle, not get clobbered. So yeah, you're probably right, but not in that specific time period. But it's definitely true now, Aaron. It's definitely true now.
You said you're in the journey of phase 2 to 3 in the business, not 0 to 1, not 1 to 2, and it's
No,
hard for you. Can you ever turn off that next idea circuit in the brain? Or do you have the next idea, or you're constantly thinking of it, or you're constantly trying, like, as it's,
yeah, I love my company. I love the business. I love what we do. Our clients are amazing. Why would I want to turn that off? Like, what am I going to do with my time if I'm not in business? I'm not going to play
no,
golf.
I'm saying just the opposite. I'm saying, is there a point where you love your clients, you love your business, I do too, but yet the entrepreneurial bug of the next idea is still
But
also
I don't have the next.
creeping in?
But I don't have the next idea. It's just refining and making what we have better and doing what we have better. I'm not. I'll die in this business. I mean, this is it.
I love that.
There's no other business for me. And I have no, I mean, will I sell the business one day? Maybe, but no end in sight for me right now. And I'm okay with that. I don't fear Sundays. I love them. If I want to play golf during the week, I play golf during the week. But, that desire hasn't come yet. Don't get me wrong. I get my licks in, but I enjoy what I do. I love the people I work with. I mean, I have a great team and staff. I think they like me. They decorated my office for my birthday, which I thought was nice. So I just think I'm pretty fortunate. I've been on the opposite side of it. I've been unhappy with where I've been, and I've just set myself up in a position in my life where I'm not. And that to me is the dream. The original dream was Steve Jobs and change the world and take over the world and, be $100 million in the bank guy. And that's not what happened for me. I'm just a hardcore bare fist grinder.
Hustler.
Sure. Hustler. Yeah, that's me. And I'm very comfortable with that and have built back a nice life for my family and myself in an industry that's not waiting for more companies to exist. By the way, there's plenty, Aaron. There's plenty of businesses businesses in this industry that are $100,000, $200,000 in revenue, and that's all they'll ever be. That just didn't appeal to me.
Thank you for the inspiration. I called it serial. You called it manic journey. Is one that I think everybody will inspire everyone to keep hustling. So really, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you.
As you know, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where we ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational or inspirational quote of what it means to their hustle. So with that, I'm going to say thank you again for being here, and the floor is yours.
I appreciate it, Aaron. Giving back and suppression of ego and being selfless is a big thing in my life, and staying humble is what allows me to continue, on this path. So there's a quote that I saw that I live by. It's we rise by lifting others.
I love that. This has been another episode of Keep Hustling with Jay Sapovits. Remember, do well by doing good, and of course, and always keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. The listeners are the most important part of this show. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more listeners. Plus, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We have some amazing guests and topics lined up for you, and we don't want you to miss out. And finally, if you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We would love to hear from you to continue the conversation. Thanks again for tuning in and supporting our podcast. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.